Welcome to the Simpson Storm Coaches Show. I'm your host, Bryan Geelan. We're joined today by head baseball coach Ben Blake. Simpson is coming off a week in which it went 3-2, so the team is now 15-7 overall and sitting atop the Iowa Conference standings with an 8-2 record. Coach, thanks for joining us. Now, last week, got a doubleheader sweep over Central at home on Tuesday, won 9-1 and 3-0 over the Dutch. And kind of has been the theme this year. Got great starting pitching from Kyle Ruley and Chris Dorff. Talk about kind of the continuing starting pitching that's been so positive for us this year.
Well, it was nice to see Ruley come up big. He hadn't really thrown a whole lot for us and hadn't had a start since spring break down in Phoenix. And so, with that midweek game, you got to come up with a fourth starter, and that's kind of a difference maker for us. I think there's 3 or 4 teams that have, maybe 2, 3 solid guys, but there aren't a whole lot that have 4 solid guys. And so it's really good for Ruley to come up big. And then Chris Chris being Chris, he was kind of a workhorse and went out there and threw well. It was nice to see a little bit of offensive output as well in that game. Going up 9-1 was really, a positive note.
Now that being said, the offense kind of took a little 2-game break when you went to Wartburg for the start of that 3-game set later in the week. Dropped the first 2 games of that series. Obviously not ideal, but you did manage to come back and get a 6-3 win in the 3rd game of the series in extra innings. How crucial is it to at least pick up 1 in that series instead of dropping all 3?
Well, I think it was huge. From the standpoint, obviously keeps us atop the standings. But more than anything, from just a standpoint that we believe that we could play with anybody, and we've been saying that all year. And to be quite honest, we went in there, and I still don't think Wartburg is better than us, but they were playing at a lot higher level at that point, and we weren't able to match that. And we kind of kicked the ball around a little bit, and it was just good to see finally that 3rd game our guys figure out that that we had to bring our level of play up to theirs.
In that 3rd game, Tyler Craig came in and forced extras with an RBI single in the 7th, and then you talked about Jake Barr coming in and doubling home the winning run then in the 9th inning. What does it mean to have some new guys kind of stepping up in those big situations, and how will guys like that factor into the lineup the remainder of the year?
We've been saying all along that we've got a ton of talent and a ton of depth, and we kind of knew at some point these guys were going to factor in. We weren't real sure it was going to be that weekend against Wartburg, but to tell you the truth, their guys were featuring a lot of fastballs and a lot of sliders, and it was really kind of hampering some of our right-handed hitters. And so all these young guys are all left-handed hitters and good left-handed hitters, and so that was to our advantage. We're kind of getting down to the point where we have to play well, so whoever's kind of playing well and doing the job is going to get the nod when it comes to starting the game.
Coming up this week, you complete the season series against Central on Wednesday in Pella, and then you host Cornell in a 3-game set this weekend on Friday and Saturday. How tough is it going to be to beat a solid Central team that 3rd game after you've already gotten a doubleheader sweep of them earlier?
I think it'll be tough. We'll have to go in and play our A game, and like I said about that Wartburg game, from here on out we have to play solid baseball, and they didn't play particularly well over here. Kind of were in an offensive slump, and I'm sure that they're hungry and ready to go, and probably wouldn't mind beating us as much as anybody. We'll look for Kyle Ruley again to factor in a little bit, and I think Mike Heiser's probably fresh enough to give us a couple, and obviously Chris Dorff can always throw, so he'll give us a few innings as well. So I think we match up pretty well over there.
Now, speaking of teams that are hungry, Cornell coming in this weekend, they don't have a conference win yet. How do you prepare for a team like that, and how do you keep your team focused going in against an opponent that has yet to scratch the win column?
Well, those Cornell games are always scary games. Cornell, Dubuque, the guys that have been at the bottom. But like I said before, the conference is always tough, up and down, and those guys are down a little bit. But I guarantee you they're hungry, and we just have to make sure that our guys don't let up, we continue to play solid baseball and continue to focus and play the game just like it was the best team in the league.
All right, Coach, thanks for joining us again. And remember, Simpson faces Central in a single 9-inning game on Wednesday in Pella starting at 3 p.m. and then turn around and host Cornell in a 3-game set beginning Friday night here at McBride Field. And if you can't make it to the game, make sure to log on to www.simpsonathletics.com for the live stats and live video. This has been the Simpson Storm Coaches Show.